This is the Daily Items One-on-One. Our guest today is former Sunbury Mayor Kurt Karlovich, interviewed by Francis Scarcella.
Hi, I'm Francis Scarcella, and this is One-on-One, and we're being joined with now former Mayor Kurt Karlovich.
Hello.
Kurt, thanks for coming. As we do with everybody, we wanted to bring you on, and we wanted to talk about your tenure as mayor of Sunbury, the first ever Democrat to win the seat, the youngest mayor to win the seat.
Well, not youngest. Mayor Brocious is the youngest. I was 31.
Prior to Mayor Brocious, you were the youngest mayor ever to win the seat, and of all the things that you've accomplished in those 4 years. So we'll start real fast from the beginning. And the beginning, as you came in, it was kind of like a tornado when you came in, and then everything kind of ironed itself out, and you had set goals of hiring more police, because at that point the Sunbury Police Department was in shambles. I mean, they were down to 4 officers, I think, at that time. And you sat down and came up with a game plan. So let's start first about when you first came in and what you saw in the Sunbury Police Department and what you knew you needed to do.
Well, I'm actually very lucky because unlike any of our prior mayors, none of them, at least to my knowledge, had actual law enforcement background. I came from a Army. I did 4 years in the regular Army as a military policeman, and I did a tour of 15 months in Iraq. And while I was in Iraq, part of my responsibilities over there in the company was we were responsible for training the actual Iraqi police services. So I already had this a portion of being used to, or at least having some knowledge about it. And when I came on, I took notice. I started reviewing some of the processes of how things were occurring, and what I found out, it was just a lack of actual equipment.
And you also knew that there was a lack of manpower, and
Exactly.
you also knew there was a lack of money.
Yes.
So the step that you decided to take?
And when I first came in, the city was, in my opinion, on the verge of financial ruins. The city was borrowing $250,000 every springtime just to pay the bills to go forward.
And then you decided, instead of going out and spending money you didn't have,
and then
you staggered the process.
We came up with a staggering hiring process for the police department. So we knew what the department should be. This is what our goal is, our top goal to get to. But this is where our budget's standing, and what can we do? And the long-term effect was a staggering process. So instead of hiring 5 officers at one time, we staggered it out. That way it was a less effect on the overall budget at the time.
And it worked.
Exactly.
And you also, let's face it, you went into the old police station on Market Street and said things have got to change.
Yes, the police department, it was, to be honest, should have been the embarrassment of the city back then.
And you decided it was time to...
Exactly. And now it is one of the best law enforcement agencies in Northumberland County and central Pennsylvania right now, because we through the last 4 years, we've evolved the police department. I've invested heavily into their training. They are more trained now than they've ever been before. The officers are going out to training. The equipment, their vehicles now are mobile offices. They're able to print their citations in the vehicles, operate the computers on the vehicles instead of just sitting at the building itself. We also have the body-worn cameras with the video and the audio that are on their body itself, and we replaced them in the vehicles. That way they were all updated.
And you gave them the biggest present of all, a brand new building.
Well, of course, with a good law enforcement agency needs to have the equipment that is necessary to provide the safety services that are needed. And right now, as we can see, a lot of municipalities are seeing a slight crime increase, especially in violent crime. If our officers don't have the equipment that is necessary for them to perform their jobs, the crime rates are just going to get worse. So right now, I applaud our police department for everything that they've done. They've evolved. They are the best police department right now, in my opinion.
And how about as far as what you did? Are you proud of exactly the steps you took and everything you took to get to this point right now?
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of learning process for me as well, being a brand new person into this position. But again, I had a really good team working with me.
Speaking of that, let's face it, there was times where it was very back and forth, but I think at the end of the day, you kind of figured it all out and started to work together. There was times where you did, sometimes where everybody didn't, but all in all, what did you think of your tenure on that for 4 years, working and doing what you wanted to do with the police department?
To be honest, being in this position, it really does take away from your personal life. So if you are a person and you're running for these public offices, you really need to be dedicated to the position that you're going to be holding. This position should be what you're living for because it's for the betterment of the actual community, for everybody that you're here to serve. So it took a lot away from my actual family time. It took away from my vacation time from work itself because I had to be here and present for the city.
So you would
I lived and breathed Sunbury for 4 years.
and you would actually physically go to work and then have to fly home and get home to make it for meetings and then review everything that you had to review. So what was there times where it was very stressful?
Oh yes, there was a lot of stress, but I'm thankful for my partner. He stayed by my side the whole time.
And as you came in, there was a lot of the previous mayor who, when you decided to run, so did you get an understanding of what he may have went through and what that mayor prior to him may have went through as the 4 years?
Yeah, I think each person is going to find out that they're going to go through something more specifically challenging that's unique to their situation. For us, we had some more challenges, but through all those challenges, we were able to grow and learn from them. And now I can see the city's future is very prosperous and bright. I look forward to the next 4 years, seeing what's going to happen.
And we have a bunch more to talk about. One of them is going to be the biggest pet project that you had. And we all know what that is. That is the SWEEP project.
SWEEP, Sunbury Wetland Ecological and Educational.
And that was the biggest thing that you wanted. And I remember me personally, you calling me every day about SWEEP, SWEEP, SWEEP. So we'll be right back with former Mayor Kurt Karlovich. We're back with former Mayor Kurt Karlovich. Not going to waste any time. This is what you wanted to talk about. This is your pet project, SWEEP.
The Sunbury Wetland Ecological and Education Park. It is so important for this community and surrounding communities here in our area. So when you're in these...
But let's be honest and tell them you had a hard time getting it going.
Yes, that's just because when you're talking about a project of this scale, of course, the first thing people are going to say, how's it going to be paid for? And because of a fear of wondering where are we going to get the finances for it, it automatically puts brakes onto anything. But through time, I was able to show that there are grants and outside funding sources that are available.
And you personally went out to a lot of the cleaning days, I remember, and fed people, and you did all of that. You made all that happen. So
yes, so we were lucky. So our local Scout Troop 333, a phenomenal group of people. They come out here once a month with me. We've been cleaning up the property for over a year now, and through that we were able to create a SWEEP committee. So there's an actual subcommittee from the city. It's the Sunbury SWEEP. So what it is, it's just a group of people. The city council asked me to be the chairperson of this, and we're just meeting monthly at the property, part of the cleanup days, talking about what is it that we feel that this project needs for the community. And through all the research that I'd done in the very beginning...
Yeah, what made you want to do this here at this area? Because that area has been...
Because there are studies out there, tons and tons of studies out there. When you're in these positions, you have to take the facts, not just what you personally want. The facts show that the creation of new green space lowers level of crime, lowers blight, creates revitalization of the community, economic development. It helps bring in tourism. Creating this green space is actually one of a kind.
Yeah. So when you first did you have this property in sight, or is this something that you were looking for an area?
I actually didn't even know about this property. Councilman Jim Meister, him and I, in the very beginning, we had a discussion, and he showed me this property, and we started talking about. I told him what my ideas were. And that's where kind of I saw the potential of this property because it was just sitting there.
Did you walk the whole property? Because I know it's kind of...
Oh, I did. Oh, I was like a child running through a store when I first saw that property. Even though it was so overgrown, because it's so exciting seeing the plant and even the animals that are currently at the property. Because when you're in the center of the wetland area, outside of the protected wetland zone, of course, you actually forget that you're in the middle of Sunbury. Because all you hear the birds chirping, you hear the bugs in the background. It's like a mini woods. And then every once in a while you hear like a car drive past, but you don't see the buildings because you're in the center of it.
So, and tell us what the end goal is with this.
The end goal is...
So we're in phase one.
Exactly. So the city has over $100,000 worth of grant money that's been allotted for the project itself. And my understanding is that construction will be like spring or summertime this year. And it's going to be the old railroad embankment that's at the property. That's going to be redone. There's going to be outdoor educational signs, sitting areas, off-street parking area, and so forth.
Well, the one thing we did learn is that you're not going to stop with this. So that's the one thing we did learn. So you will be all over city council and the mayor to continue the project going.
I believe it in this project.
After phase one, what is the end result of what you want to see here?
The end result, I would really like to see our local universities and our school districts utilize this, bring the college students out, bring our elementary school students, the high school students, so forth. It has a huge educational potential because what we're doing is we're saving this actual natural habitat. We are preserving this because we also need it because the wetland itself acts as like a sponge. It soaks out the bad stuff out of the ground and it helps control flooding.
So now, they're all the good things that you did, and again, SWEEP has just,
only a few of the
came
things.
across only a few of the good things you did.
Oh, and our recreational area of the council, or this within the last 4 years, Sunbury's recreational facility is the best in the area. Our pool received upgrades. Ice rink received lighting upgrades, interior upgrades. Major upgrades have occurred at our recreational sites because of council working together and being able to find this funding out there.
And that's one thing you were always a proponent for, is whatever would help the community. You were always
exactly. It's our decisions are for what is in the best interest of the communities long term.
And I know you always had your door open to anybody that came in to talk to you or all of that. So you did do a lot of good things. What would you say would be the things that if you had more time you would have been able to do, or what do you believe that you may have regretted doing during your tenure?
I wish I had more time to help preserve our historical documents at City Hall. We have a lot of documents that are worthy of historical note that they need to be preserved because of their failing condition. So I do wish I had more time that I could have focused on that project because it would be lengthy.
And what if you had to do one thing over that you did? What would it be?
Found a different job.
Well, let's speak of that. That's the reason why when you had to make your announcement. So you obviously you work in a job where you're not allowed to run by law. So is that the reason?
Correct. So that is the only reason that I was unable to run for re-election, is because I'm in a civil service position and I'm barred from running for a partisan election during my employment.
Right. So. And you're a young guy, so you have to work, so you want to go to work, and so this was kind of really a bothersome thing for you, right? Because I know when we talked, you weighed the decision on should I work or should I, run for mayor again. So,
yes.
But you're not going away.
Oh no! I will forever be here in the city. Well, I wouldn't. I'm just here for everybody if they have something. If they need some assistance, if there's a committee out there that needs some advice or some assistance, even if it's at City Hall.
And you plan on attending council meetings because I already seen you there. So.
Yep. So I won't be at every one, but I definitely would like to stay involved, keeping updated with what's going on.
And as far as any council member that's on there now, or even new mayor Josh Brocious, I'm sure you would always answer the phone and answer any questions. And have you spoke to any of the council or mayor since you've left office?
Briefly.
Yeah. So any advice what would be your advice that you would give the new mayor right now?
Make sure to take a little bit of you time.
That was your biggest thing, right? That's what you felt was the biggest thing. So what would you like to see, and we'll end on this note, what would you like to see for the next 4 years happen within the city of Sunbury?
Definitely development of the old Sunbury Hospital area and the Celotex site. And from my understanding, the future is very bright with some of those projects moving forward.
There were projects that you were heavily involved in too, and trying to. Do you wish that you could have been more, like another 4 years to get those things?
Most definitely, but I said it even before. I believe people should only run for a couple terms and not be lengthy terms, because you have to have new and fresh ideas coming in. So I believe that the position that the city was in 4 years ago, we're in a great position now, and I look forward to seeing what this administration is able to bring forward as well, because they're going to be continuing to finish projects we initiated while also pursuing projects that they feel is necessary for the city.
How about any other political runs down the future?
One never knows where I may end up.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in, and we appreciate it. We hope you're not a stranger, and I'm sure we'll be calling you on many different story topics, including SWEEP, which is definitely something that people will look forward to in the spring. So thanks for coming. This has been One-on-One with former Mayor Kurt Karlovich.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check back again for another edition.